So I guess then, from your experience, what are the kind of biggest challenges that cybersecurity professionals face when starting a new journey in cybersecurity? So we've talked about communications as being a kind of a key skill, and I think that that works in many different kind of roles and probably absolutely different industries as well. But what other challenges is it that you see that people face when getting placed into different roles?
Yeah, I mean, I think a huge one is that departments are expanding now rapidly, cybersecurity departments, as it becomes more of a trusted function, a function that everybody sees they need. And I think within that, I think it's really difficult when you're starting out to actually know, which qualifications to pursue. I think there are a whole host of qualifications out there, and deciding which ones are going to get you closest to your medium and long-term goal, I think is difficult. I think there's a cost element to it as well, where I think I saw a recent survey where over half the people that are pursuing certifications are expected to pay for at least a proportion of that out of their own pocket as well. So I think when you're starting out and you're not necessarily flush with money, it's working out where you're going to get the best bang for your buck as well, which I think is a big challenge. I think tied into that is the career path as well. So with all these new functions within functions, so within cybersecurity, it's difficult to work out, it's difficult to map your path through that because there's so many different options out there. So I guess picking, how best that's going to happen, and also, how much control you're going to have over that within any one organization as well, with, over how your career progresses, I think are all challenges that, people starting out in cybersecurity face. And I think that the last one I would say is the chicken and egg scenario of, we want somebody to come in who's experienced, who can hit the ground running, but at the same time, these areas are all relatively new. So there's very few people out there necessarily that might have experience in specific areas. And it's, how do we get experience if you don't give us a chance to gain experience? So yeah. I think there are a number of different issues that
I think when they're going into the actual role, though, in terms of a CISO going in somewhere new, I think a big challenge is for them to look at the bigger picture. I think you've got so much on your plate from a tech point of view, and so many threats and new threats to be thinking about, things like cloud technology, and a whole host and array of malware and other problems that can be both external and obviously internal threats within the organization as well. I think there's a lot to think of on your plate where you can get very fixed mindset on what you're doing rather than seeing the bigger picture. And I think that's a big challenge that if you don't overcome, again, you're alienating yourself and you're not building that partnership and collaboration. So making sure you are going out of your way to get to grips with other areas you might be less familiar with. And I think, again, CISOs that go in and are prepared to do that and communicate with other departments, build their skill set within the organization to get a better understanding of how the business operates, what the strategic goals are, and the overall bigger vision of the company, I think is a big area where people make a mistake when they go into roles. And it's very much, I'm delivery focused on these areas. Where things can go drastically wrong. And then obviously stemming from that, things like budgets. I think justifying budgets is difficult. I think budgets are always cut to the bare bones because it's difficult to justify spending when the only real time where there's an issue is that there has been a breach. And then obviously the cost of that is more than financial. You've got the reputational risk on top of it. And then obviously once that's happened, there's no coming back as a CISO. The sort of buck stops with you. So it's trying to be able to justify those budgets. And then the other aspect is the talent as well, the talent shortage perhaps that is either there justifying how you can build that talent base that you need, the skill sets that you need to deliver the programs that are right, and building the right partners, the right vendor partners to actually deliver the tech for you. I think these are all big pitfalls that need to be carefully thought out.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I completely agree with what you're saying. I think that with regards to the CISOs trying to understand and communicate these problems correctly. So just kind of going into that a little bit more, actually, do you think that, I think adaptation to change is really important. I think that coming in with a fixed mindset, as you just said, and really kind of focusing on the deliverables and, you know, things are going to go this way. Do you think that people, when they kind of, there's even at this level, there's still a tendency to prove my worth as quickly as possible, as it were? So, you know, this is what I'm going to do. These are the expectations. This is what I'm going to deliver in X amount of time. They write a plan, and then when it starts going wrong because the adaptation's not there, because they haven't looked at how the business works, they haven't understood the interpersonal, probably relationships between the different departments. They don't understand the workings of the business. So, without sitting back and observing and listening, they're probably. It probably
what
falls
you're
apart.
highlighting is how a contractor goes in and delivers a program. They're not interested in the politics. They're not interested in building relationships. They're interested in getting from A to B in the project. And I think that if you go in with that mindset, that's why you'll only be in the role for that period of time. Because you have to build and immerse yourself in a business to understand the culture, to understand the history, to understand the interaction between departments. And until you know that, you're not going to be able to get the right, even when the project's rolled out, you're not going to get the buy-in from those departments because they're not going to understand what you've delivered that's of value to them. And it's all about partnership building. It's all about collaboration in terms of communication, speaking the right language, trying to show that you're willing to get that understanding. Otherwise, you're going in there with a fixed mindset of, I've done this before, I can replicate it again. I'm not going to pay attention to how this company environment differs, how the people are different. I can just roll it out again. I can use the same vendors. They've worked for me here. In a past position, I can just bring them on board again. The whole mindset should be about learning and looking at the landscape that you're in and building those partnerships. When you boil it down, and getting anything delivered is going to be making sure that this person knows what this person is doing, so they know what the timelines are, and they'll be more prepared to be part of it or not, rather than being forced to do something or see it as a necessity, to actually see it as to see the value in doing it for them and to understand why it's being done. And that all comes from interacting and speaking the right language to people.
Okay.
I think the awareness piece as well is massive, and I think training methods have moved on so much, from what they were, even 5 years ago. I think there's so much more, I think the best way is little and often with cybersecurity training. And I think if you can do that and get that right, and get people engaged in the message and what they need to do, little and often, then I think you can make serious gains in terms of then, as and when you're getting out to the business and you're having those different conversations across different departments, people are already more engaged, more willing to listen and to understand where you're coming from as well when things need to be done a certain way. I think micro-learning, gamification, these things are all there now through various companies that offer a far more fun way to learn about cybersecurity and to understand, the pressures and the risks that, they're potentially opening their businesses up to.